President's meals are not just breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's a true ritual, surrounded by secrecy, strict control, and the most unusual culinary preferences. We are used to thinking that country leaders eat like kings, but is that really the case? Some presidents love exquisite delicacies that an ordinary person could only dream of. Others, on the contrary, choose simple and familiar food, surprising even their security with this. But what unites them all is safety. Every dish is checked by special personnel to eliminate any threats. And sometimes the inspection starts even at the stage of purchasing the products. In this video, I will tell you what the most famous presidents in the world eat. Who among them is a gourmet, and who prefers fast food? How is their food protected, and which dishes are considered the most unusual? And of course, we'll start with the president of Russia. Vladimir Putin is a person about whom many rumors circulate. Some say he only eats elite products, while others claim he eats the simplest and most familiar food. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in the middle. It is known that Putin prefers healthy food. His diet includes vegetables, fish, porridge, and cottage cheese. His breakfasts are quite modest, an omelette or porridge, sometimes with honey. He likes tea but hardly drinks coffee. Alcohol is a rarity on his table. The main principle is the freshness of the products. All food undergoes strict control, as any president risks being poisoned. By the way, Putin does not take food from strangers. Putin, like many Russians, loves dumplings and shashlik. They say he even sometimes cooks them himself. But there is one dish he definitely won't refuse: ice cream. It is exactly what he brings as a gift to leaders of other countries. But how does the diet of the Russian president differ from his American counterpart? Unlike Putin, Donald Trump is not a fan of healthy eating. He loves fast food, and that's no joke. Burgers, French fries, Coca-Cola, all of these hold an important place in his diet. Trump often orders food from McDonald's, KFC, and Burger King. According to him, it's not just tasty but also safe. He believes that in such places, there's less chance of getting food poisoning. After all, the food is prepared in bulk and the same for everyone. But he also has elite preferences. For example, steaks, and he likes them very well done. So much so that some chefs even call it a crime against meat. Another interesting fact: Trump hardly drinks alcohol. He says he has seen how alcohol abuse destroys lives, and therefore he avoids it himself. France is a country of haute cuisine, and the president here eats accordingly. The best chefs work at the Élysée Palace, and the menu resembles more of a restaurant than a presidential one. Macron loves traditional French dishes. His diet often includes foie gras, truffles, and seafood. He appreciates good wine and can afford a glass with dinner. But he also has simple tastes. For example, he loves baguettes with cheese. It's said that he can eat several in a day. And another of his weaknesses is chocolate. He prefers dark chocolate with a high cocoa content. Interestingly, all products in the presidential palace must be exclusively French. This is a fundamental stance of Macron: support for national production. German cuisine is famous for hearty and high-calorie dishes, but the Chancellor of Germany follows a more moderate diet. Olaf Scholz hasn't eaten meat for many years. He is a vegetarian and prefers dishes made from vegetables, cheese, and grains. However, there is an exception in his menu. He sometimes eats fish. One of his favorite dishes is traditional German dumplings, Maltaschen. These are somewhat like large dumplings with vegetable or cheese filling. He also likes potato salad, which in Germany is prepared according to different recipes depending on the region. As for alcohol, he drinks it rarely, although he is, of course, familiar with German beer and wine. Unlike his predecessor Angela Merkel, who was known as a beer enthusiast, Scholz prefers mineral water more. And herbal teas. Chinese cuisine is a combination of traditions, flavors, and ancient recipes. But what exactly does he eat? The leader of the largest country in the world, Xi Jinping, prefers simple but traditional food. He likes noodles, rice, vegetable dishes, and seafood. It is said that his favorite dish is regular dumplings, jiazi. It is one of the most popular Chinese dishes, and Xi can eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Special attention in his diet is given to balance. In China, it is believed that nutrition should support health and energy. Therefore, on the Chinese leader's table, there are always soups, stewed vegetables, and light snacks. However, he has strict control over alcohol. In his youth, he could drink a little traditional Chinese baijiu, a strong drink made from rice. But now he has almost completely given up alcohol. An interesting moment: when Xi Jinping was in the United States, he went into a regular diner and ordered a burger with fries. This surprised many, as such visits are rare for the Chinese leader. Turkish cuisine is rich in spices, meat dishes, and traditional sweets. And the president of Turkey fully shares the love for national treats. Erdogan often eats kebabs, lamb dishes, and lentil soup. Turkish breakfast is one of the most diverse in the world, and the president loves it too. Olives, cheese, eggs, flatbreads, honey. All of this can be found on his table in the mornings. But most of all, he loves a special dish. Root vegetables. It's an eggplant stuffed with meat, with tomato sauce and spices. A very tasty and hearty dish that has been popular in Turkey for hundreds of years. Sweets are a separate topic. Erdogan cannot resist lokum and baklava. However, he doesn't drink coffee that often, preferring regular black tea. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, hasn't eaten meat for many years. He is a vegetarian and strictly adheres to the principles of Indian cuisine. His diet consists of rice, vegetables, soy products, and dairy dishes. He really loves traditional Indian flatbreads, roti, and various curries. However, he tries to avoid spicy dishes, which are so popular in India. Modi hardly ever eats in restaurants, preferring homemade food. He also takes care of his health and follows a strict dietary regimen. One of his traditions is to drink warm water in the mornings and eat light dishes without excessive spices. Another interesting fact: he doesn't drink tea with milk, even though it's one of the most popular beverages in India. Instead, he opts for herbal infusions and lemon water. But let's move to South America and see what the leader of Brazil eats. Brazilian cuisine. It's a mix of European, African, and indigenous traditions. And the president of Brazil, Lula da Silva, is a true fan of national dishes. He loves meat, especially feijoada, a stew of beans with beef and pork. It's one of the most popular Brazilian dishes, and it's often served at the presidential residence. Another dish he adores is picanha. It's a special type of steak that is grilled. Lula da Silva has even said that he could eat it every day. Among drinks, he prefers coffee and freshly squeezed juices. In Brazil, there is a huge variety of fruits, and the president often chooses juices made from guava, pineapple, or passion fruit. Italian cuisine is known worldwide, and the Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, is a big fan of national dishes. She loves pasta, especially carbonara, spaghetti with eggs, cheese, and bacon. It's one of the most popular dishes in Rome, where she was born. Another of her favorite dishes is osso buco. It's a braised veal shank with vegetables, which is very popular in northern Italy. Interestingly, Meloni rarely eats desserts. Unlike many Italians, she is not a fan of tiramisu and cannoli. However, she loves cheese, especially Parmesan and Gorgonzola. But coffee is sacred. Italians drink a lot of it, and Meloni is no exception. She prefers espresso, without sugar and milk. Argentina is a country where meat holds a central place in the food culture. And President Alberto Fernandez fully embraces this tradition. One of his favorite dishes is the famous Argentine asado. It's a type of barbecue where the meat is slowly grilled over an open flame. Beef in Argentina is considered one of the best in the world, and the president definitely knows how to cook it properly. He also loves milanesa, breaded and fried veal, which somewhat resembles an Italian schnitzel. It's a popular dish in Argentine families, and Fernandez has often said that he has been eating it since childhood. Among drinks he prefers mate, a traditional Argentine tea, which is drunk from a special vessel with a metal straw. He can be seen with this drink even during official meetings. Japanese cuisine is a combination of tradition, minimalism, and fresh ingredients. The Prime Minister of Japan, Fumio Kishida, adheres to the principles of healthy eating, but he also has favorite dishes. One of them is unidan. It's rice with seerjin, which is considered a delicacy. It has an unusual taste, slightly sweet, and Kishida admitted that he has been eating it since childhood. He also loves ramen, a traditional Japanese noodle soup. Each region of Japan has its own recipe, and the Prime Minister often tries different versions during his travels around the country. Interestingly, Fumio Kishida loves meat. Unlike many Japanese who prefer fish, he appreciates good wagyu, marbled beef that literally melts in your mouth. South Korean cuisine is famous for its unique dishes, and the country's president does not shy away from national traditions. One of the main features of Korean cuisine is kimchi. These are fermented vegetables, most often cabbage with garlic and pepper. Koreans eat kimchi every day, and the president is no exception. Another of his favorite dishes is bulgogi. This is beef marinated in soy sauce with honey, garlic, and sesame. It's grilled and turns out incredible. Aromatic meat. For breakfast, he prefers traditional Korean juk, rice porridge with meat or vegetables. It's light yet very filling. Egyptian cuisine is a blend of Middle Eastern and Mediterranean traditions. The president of Egypt, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, adheres to national tastes and rarely deviates from them. He loves koshari, which is a mix of rice, pasta, chickpeas, and tomato sauce. It's a very hearty dish that is considered food for the common people, but the president does not ignore it. He also often eats full midams, stewed beans with olive oil and spices. This is a traditional Egyptian breakfast that provides energy for the whole day. For sweets, he likes pasplasa, a semolina cake with syrup. It's one of the most popular Egyptian treats, served at all celebrations. But which cuisine is considered the most unusual among world leaders? Some presidents enjoy dishes that seem strange or unusual to the rest of the world. For example, former president of Iceland Gudni Johannesson ate hakal. This is fermented shark meat with a very strong smell. In Iceland, it's a traditional delicacy, but tourists rarely dare to try it. In Mongolia, former President Khaltmagin Batulga preferred boo dog. This is a dish prepared right in the animal's skin, roasting it with hot stones. And in Cambodia, political leaders sometimes eat fried spiders. This is an exotic treat that appeared in the country during times of food scarcity, but later became a national characteristic. But if you want to be even more amazed, then let's travel back in time, to the times when states were ruled by kings and emperors. Their diet will undoubtedly surprise you. The pharaohs of ancient Egypt were considered living gods, and their diet matched this status. Their table was laden with a variety of dishes, and the process of preparing food was complex and strictly controlled. The pharaoh's diet included bread, vegetables, fruits, meat, and a huge amount of honey. Bread in Egypt was baked from emmer wheat. This is one of the oldest grains. It was often topped with cumin, coriander, and poppy seeds. Pharaohs loved meat, but they didn't eat it as often as one might think. The main sources of protein were fish, ducks, geese, and pigeons. Beef was considered a luxury and could only be afforded by the upper classes. An interesting fact, Egyptians were the first to make foie gras. They fattened geese so that their liver would become especially tender. But the greatest weakness of the pharaohs was sweets. Honey was used in almost all dishes, and desserts made from dates and nuts resembled modern Eastern sweets. Russian emperors were known for their feasts. Their meals could last for several hours, and sometimes even days. One of the main delicacies was garum. This is a fermented fish sauce that was added to almost every dish. It was considered a sign of wealth and was expensive. The emperors ate a lot of meat. The menu included boars, deer, hares, peacocks, and even flamingos. It is said that Emperor Heliogabalus loved dishes made from the tongues of flamingos and peacocks, considering them a special delicacy. Fruits and vegetables were an essential part of the meal. Figs, grapes, pomegranates, and olives were especially valued. They were served with goat cheese and honey. The desserts, however, were remarkable for their variety. The Romans made pies with nuts, figs, and cheese, drizzling them with honey and wine. Chinese emperors were known for their exquisite cuisine. Their cuisine included hundreds of dishes, and entire armies of chefs were involved in the cooking. One of the most astonishing dishes was bird's nest soup. This was a rare delicacy. Made from the hardened saliva of swallows, it was considered incredibly beneficial and cost a fortune. Emperors ate a lot of duck and pork. Peking duck, prepared using a special technique, was one of the main treats in the palace. The meat was marinated in honey and spices, then roasted in an oven until it had a crispy crust. But most of all, they loved rice. White rice was considered royal, while black rice was exclusively for emperors. Ordinary people were forbidden to eat it. Wine in China was made from rice and was served at feasts, along with exotic fruits like lychee, mango, and dragon fruit. Louis XIV, known as the Sun King, loved luxury in everything, and his table was a true work of art. The king ate 4 times a day, and each meal turned into a spectacle. He could invite hundreds of courtiers to watch him eat. It was not just a meal, but a demonstration of power. His menu always included game, fish, exotic fruits, and the finest wines of France. One of his favorite delicacies was turkey with truffles. At that time, turkey was considered a rarity, and only the wealthiest people could afford it. Louis also loved fresh vegetables. To ensure his table was supplied with asparagus and artichokes at any time of the year, special greenhouses were built at his palace, a novelty for that time. Desserts were a particular weakness of the king. He never refused cream, pie, or fruit jelly. But most of all, Louis loved chocolate, which at that time was just beginning to conquer Europe. The Russian Tsars held real feasts that could last for several days. At such banquets, hundreds of dishes were served, and the number of servants involved in the process reached several hundred. One of the main dishes at the Tsar's table was sturgeon pie. A huge fish pie with sturgeon or sterlet. This was considered a symbol of wealth and could only be served at special events. Another favorite dish was baked swan. In Russia, it was prepared with apples, spices, and sour cream sauce. This dish was a must at large celebrations. Porridges also played an important role in the Tsar's diet. Especially popular was goose with porridge, a roasted goose stuffed with buckwheat. Desserts on the Tsar's table included honey gingerbread, jam from rare berries, and spiton. A hot drink based on honey and spices. But the most astonishing thing is the number of people involved in the process. At the Tsar's court, hundreds of cooks, servants, and tasters were employed. The food was tasted in advance to eliminate any threats, and the Tsar himself could choose dishes from a long list compiled by his cooks. This is how the diet of rulers has changed from ancient times to the present day. Nowadays, presidents and monarchs eat much more simply, but the control over their food remains as strict as it was thousands of years ago.